we are looking at exponential functions, and exponential functions are either increasing, like this one, when we did 2 to the x, they always have the point 0, 1. And exponential graphs also always have an asymptote at y equals 0. But sometimes our graphs are increasing, some are decreasing. So you can add these examples to your notes on page, you can put these on page 345. Sometimes it's easier to see when you use actual numbers. So if you had y equals 3 to the x, you would have 0, 1, and your asymptote at y is 0. But when you plug in 1, you would get 3. This one would be increasing. But if you had 1/5 to the x, well, you'd still have 0, 1. When you plug in 1, you would now get 1/5. It would still have an asymptote at y equals 0, but that one would be decreasing. And I have here that y equals 1/5 to the x is the same as y equals 5 to the negative x, which is just a 5 to the x graph reflected horizontally. So if we go to example 1, has everybody done these ones or not quite? Okay. So let's go to example 1. It says graph y equals 1/3 x. So exponential graphs, you will always have the point 0, 1. When I plug in 1 for x on this one, I would have 1, 1/3. You will always have an asymptote at y equals 0. And if those are the 2 points you have, draw it towards the asymptote. And there we have our graph. Now, some things to discover or to look at this graph. Every time you increase x by 1, if you look at its equation, what's going to happen is you are going to multiply your y value by 1/3. That's what an exponent does. You just keep multiplying by 1/3, by 1/3, by 1/3. This one, is it increasing or decreasing? It's decreasing because it's going down from left to right. You have a y-intercept at 0, 1. But there are no x-intercepts because of that asymptote at y equals 0. We do have one asymptote, y equals 0, and even though it goes up steep, it will keep going forever to the left. If you think about your domain, that's your next question. Your domain can be anything. You're allowed to put in anything as an exponent. Exponents can be positive, they can be negative, they can be fractions. Everything is allowed. What do fractions do? Remember that a fraction of a half is the same as a square root? So when we do exponential functions, we always do exponential functions for positive numbers. Because you can't have a -2 in brackets to the x, because you can't do square roots or fourth roots of negative numbers. And the range, we would write just as y is bigger than 0. So you can circle questions 3, 5, and 7.